Okay, sorry. I'll
All right. Charlie, I appreciate you having me here. It's wonderful to meet you. This will be another episode of Legacy Innovators podcast. And today we have Charlie Velazquez from Rugby in Florida.
Thank you very much, Kobe, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so um, tell me just kind of a little bit about yourself and the journey that's led you to where you are today with Rugby Florida.
I am actually from Uruguay, and I played rugby in my youth until, my mid 20s. When I came here to the States, I was fortunate enough for to have my kids play rugby. So I started by I'm like a very involved parent, so I followed all the practices and games, and I also helped the club where they played, Miami Rugby, that they were just starting at the time. This is 2009. Youth rugby was just starting at the time, and uh, and I helped the club, develop. I was, well, I guess I still am, like a web developer. So I
Okay.
set up the website and all the social media that we had at the time, which was basically just Facebook, and helped the club to grow a lot. And then once my kids, and I was really focused just on, the club and what was going on there. Once my kids came out of high school and they transitioned into college, they continued playing for a few years. I was a little bit lost in the sense of I did not know how it was organized, what was going on. So I decided to start this website. This is 2012, so it's been online like 13 years, which is like, in
A long
internet
time.
times, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm a really old guy by now. Uh, so it was more like out of curiosity to say, okay, what's going on in college? So I just started doing a little research, and I said, well, I might as well just start a website so I can share this knowledge of what is going on. And I sort of immediately, being a web developer, I set up this site all by myself,
Mm.
uh, which is pretty much an accomplishment because I'm no
Yeah.
programmer. I
That's
just
impressive. Yeah,
was pretty smart, and it looks pretty old. It's like an old car right now because it was built back in 2012, and
sure.
as far as the all the coding, it's pretty much the same, but it works. So I decided to expand this to all the divisions in Florida Rugby. And my project is specifically Florida Rugby. I
Okay.
don't really follow much of anything else.
Got you.
So that's how I started. And
And
one thing
is
that
that
I
just a personal preference or are you kind of just y- busy
well,
to
no, the thing is, I like to, you can't do everything right
right.
most of the times. And
Yeah,
this I was doing by myself entirely.
got you.
And so it's just like I picked, okay, this is the what the website is going to be focused on, Florida Rugby.
Okay.
Because if you say, okay, I'm just going to do rugby, and then it's like it's a nightmare because there's so
Yeah,
much going on. And
right.
so I have done other projects in the past with like the same kind of focus on just very specific, and it worked out pretty well. So I applied like this same thinking for this.
Okay.
So that was the
Awesome.
beginning, 2012.
Okay. And Rugby Florida has, it's obviously played a pivotal role in fostering rugby's growth across Florida. Um, what sort of inspired you to or I'm sorry, what have been your biggest motivators over the years?
But I am like absolute huge fan of the sport because I really think, well, it's a sport I played as when I was young, and I was very fortunate to have my kids play. And for people who don't know nothing about rugby, which is very common, it's a very small sport.
Sure.
very small,
Yeah.
and it's off it very often the we try I don't do this, but people try to explain it starting with the phrase it's like American football,
Football.
but
Yeah.
so and that I think has ruined the perception of the sport because
Because people are going into rugby kind of comparing it to football already or expecting to see something like it.
which your first thought would be these guys are crazy. Why
Yeah,
would they play that American football without protection, because we
sure.
don't use anything other than the mouthpiece. That's
Right.
it. But I, I do not even want to compare it at all, other than the fact that it's a contact sport.
Or
And
yeah.
that is it. Many people don't know this, but actually, football comes out of rugby.
Okay. I
And
didn't know that.
this is the 1800s back in this started in the colleges. American football is like a variation of rugby,
Sure.
which took off pretty well, I have to say.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people when they see rugby, I think that the intensity of it and the lack of pads kind of scares a lot of people away. But I feel like actually seen reports saying that there's often more concussions in football and injuries than there are in rugby, actually.
I believe that is true because
Yeah,
we play very differently.
yeah,
There are very strict rules and techniques on how you tackle. Uh, so it's really a totally different sport. And
yeah,
the main thing I like from the sport is, and this is something that many people also don't know, is that in any rugby game, whatever age group, it doesn't matter. And if you've seen rugby, it's pretty tough what goes on the field, right?
yeah.
But after the game, both teams get together and share a meal, or when they're adults, they go to a bar all together.
Really.
Yes,
And
it's
that's a
not the
rugby
UK.
tradition all
Oh
across
yes,
the
that is
sport.
like that is like that it's really like without that it would not be rugby as we
Wow.
know it, okay?
Okay.
And this sounds pretty crazy when you come from other sports where
Yeah.
typically after the game, if anything, you just want to go and fight the other team,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I can
You don't
speak
want to
from
go to the bar.
personal, yeah, I can speak from personal experience. I mean, I played college basketball at some of the highest levels. You know, I played Division I college basketball, and there's been times where we don't even bother going down the handshake line and
Well,
shaking the other team's hand, and not because of us, but we played a team last year where their coach was so upset that he decided to tell his players, no, we're not gonna,
that's
shake the other team's hand, which is unfortunate because your coach should be setting the example and leading the
yeah, of
team, and
course.
he was doing
Of
the
course,
complete
of course.
opposite. So that's see, and that's what I love about this is I'm able to learn things about sports that, I haven't been as familiar with. I would have never known that about that with rugby.
And listen, this is something that we do in rugby and every other sport. Nobody's preventing them from doing this.
Right.
You
Yeah.
have your team basketball team. Okay, let's start a tradition. After the game, we're gonna invite the guys over
Yep.
and have a pizza, have some drinks, depending if you're over 21, whatever.
Sure.
I mean, nobody's preventing you from doing
Yeah.
that. In
I
rugby,
think,
it is like part of the game. We call it the
yeah.
third half.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
there's
I
two
think,
halves, and then there's a third one.
yeah. I think the closest I've gotten to that, I was my sophomore year, I first attended a junior college and we hosted a Thanksgiving tournament, that kind of spanned across 3 days with about four different teams. And after the last game on Sunday finished, we had Thanksgiving dinner prepared for all the teams after. I think that's kind of the closest I've gotten to experiencing something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
and rugby is mandatory. I mean,
yeah,
there's no way you don't do this.
yeah,
And there are other things from the sport because your initial question was what was my motivation, right?
Yeah.
So basically it's a love of the sport, and why I love the sport so much is because of these values that it has. Another thing that may catch your attention is that in rugby, the referee has absolute authority, and actually the only person on the field that has the like is allowed to talk to the referee is the captain of the team.
Okay.
Like whatever the referee calls, you can't just come up to him. Hey,
Yeah.
no,
Like we see in other sports.
that will get you off the field most likely.
Yeah.
So there's an
Okay.
absolute, I mean, hey, there are exceptions, of course.
Right, right.
It doesn't happen 100% of the time, but most of the time, you just, he gives you a red card, you're out of the
Okay.
game. The player just turns away and leaves the field. He doesn't even talk to the ref. And nobody comes up to the ref and, hey, what did you do? No,
Yeah.
red,
Doesn't
red card,
happen.
bye, okay. And this is at all levels, huh?
Okay.
Even in the professional game, when you compare it to soccer, like the referee calls something and like
Right.
the whole team is on top of him,
Yeah.
that
That
is
doesn't
sort of
happen in rugby.
unheard of. No,
Yeah.
no. So
Um,
there's a lot of values, and we tend to. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but we tend to accept what the referee calls and play by the laws of the game.
sure.
We generally speaking, like cheating is not, is not really something that you do.
Right.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but
Yeah.
or
It's
faking
definitely
injuries.
looked down upon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Of like faking injuries, that's like the worst,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
which is very
Yeah.
common in soccer. Like they do it like all the time. But
In
this is
order
the exact
to
we do
deceive
the
the
exact
refs.
we do the exact opposite. We fake we're not injured just to
Okay.
not get off the field.
Right. Yeah.
So all these values, and my son's playing this, is that's why I kept going because and kept doing it because I think that
Awesome.
really rugby is a life-changing sport,
Yeah.
and I've experienced it and I've seen it with my kids.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so I would imagine, obviously community engagement is at the heart of what you do.
Yes.
So what what strategies have you found most effective in bringing in new members into the rugby community, especially younger players?
Well, overall, I always try to have good communication with everybody. Okay.
Yeah,
That's like the first thing. And by communication, I mean not only having good contact information to communicate with, but also being very, uh, making myself very accessible to be able to talk to everybody,
sure,
and to be able to help out, whenever I can. And, throughout the years, of course, I started just with basically the website and the Facebook page, because that was pretty much all we sort of had. And then I'm pretty strong on Instagram because obviously for the youngers, that's all they see.
sure.
So right over the years, I and what I do is I try to make, you know the information of what's going on available as soon as possible and as best as possible to make it, easy to understand.
Sure.
I mean, I just promote rugby all across every division.
Okay.
Like that is one of the goals that you mentioned, to bring more people into
Right.
the sport. But it's not really up to me. Mostly it's more up to the clubs and the unions
Got you.
to get those things. But I definitely support all that.
Okay.
And some type of engagement really like gets them motivated.
Right.
I started the 2020 when we had the pandemic. That was a terrible thing, but it was a great thing for me because everything got canceled, of course. So there was nothing to do. And with another member of the rugby community, actually a referee, which I was sort of close, we said, "Well, what are we gonna do? There's nothing, everything is gone.
Yeah.
Hey, let's start a podcast, you know."
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
so I the
And
only reason I started the podcast was that there was nothing else to do, and everybody was
got you.
home on their computers.
Okay. And you said that you're located in Miami, Florida?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah, I'm over here in the Tampa Bay area,
Okay.
Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're familiar with IMG Academy, but
Yes, of course. Yes,
yeah,
yes,
I'm
yes.
within like walking
I
distance
have
from
I I
IMG
have a funny
Academy.
story for you about that, about IMG.
Yeah.
So we have at the end of the season the state
Mhm.
finals, right?
Yep.
So a couple of years ago, the union had decided to play these finals in a really like unknown place, okay? And of
Mhm.
course, when you go to play the state finals, you want it to be a nice venue, right?
Right, right.
And so I'm like very into venues. I really like I'm a little maybe a little disorder, but I just love the rugby field,
Yeah,
to for it to be as perfect as possible, and especially for an event like that, right?
right.
Which is the culmination of the season. So I actually was a little suspicious. This place, I've never heard of it. It's a little town in the Okeechobee area.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna go and check it out. I actually drove from Miami to this place. I don't know, it was like a 2 hour drive just to
Yeah.
go and check out the site. And it turned out to be a terrible place. It was like an abandoned, city park.
Oh, wow.
So I went
That's
back and
terrible.
I told I basically made a little fuss about it that, it's totally unacceptable,
Sure.
which made them change the venue and they played at IMG that year,
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah,
which is
and
an
that's where I was
awesome.
gonna yeah, I was gonna lead into that. I didn't know if there was any rugby venues or events that took place at IMG.
Oh yeah, there
Do those
is.
happen pretty often?
Not really, because
Not really.
IMG, as you know, it's a little bit expensive. We did have
Very.
the state
Yes.
finals twice, but
Okay.
there is a rugby sevens is a variation of the game where instead of playing 15 aside, we play seven aside
Okay.
on the same field. It's a big thing actually. These are much shorter games, just 15 minutes, 7 and 7. And there's a big event at IMG. It's like a international camp going on at IMG, and then there's going to be a big tournament in the. I can't remember exactly the name of the place, but in Bradenton.
Okay.
And this is organized by a UK-based company that does these tournaments.
Wow.
And you may have heard of Tropical Sevens. You never
Tropical
heard? I mean,
sevens?
that is played also in Bradenton in this what is called this place. They have like 15 fields.
Okay. No, I haven't. I haven't heard of that.
I just forgot the name of it, but this is a huge. This is the biggest tournament. They have like 200 teams coming from
Oh,
all
wow.
over the world, and they play right there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I haven't seen anything on there. I'll have to check it out.
It's an interesting event to go. It's played in the weekend of in April in Easter weekend
Okay.
e-
Got you.
every year.
Okay. Um, can you share sort of some of the operational or logistical challenges that you faced in expanding rugby's presence in the state?
Uh, from what point of view? From for what I do,
Yeah,
rugby?
from what you do and trying to get rugby basically out like s- logistical challenges as far as like um how
Yeah,
many
yeah. Well, there are, I to expand rugby is, and it is, as I said, a very small sport.
sure,
And there are several reasons, I think. One is it's very like not known and misunderstood. And then to set up a rugby program, as much as it's not really expensive, because there's really not too much equipment. So you just
right,
need some balls,
right,
some pads, the mouthpiece. It's compared to other sports, it's sort of cheap. But you also there's a big problem in especially here in like in South Florida to get fields. Fields is a really hard thing to get
okay,
just because there are many other sports that they sort of take over, and
sure,
for a little very little sport, they what you want to do, what rugby.
yeah, it's hard to get
Sorry,
in,
it's all
yeah,
booked. So the field thing is really hard. And then the other thing that I think holds back the expansion is to get any team going, you need, of course, somebody who will, take it upon it himself or herself or a little group of people. Let's get a team going, right?
yeah,
But that's just the people who are, trying to set it up. But then
okay,
you need coaches. And to be a coach in rugby, it's not that easy because you really sort of not even going and like if you're new, if yourself, you say, okay, I'm going to be a rugby coach. You do a coaching clinic to get certified, which you have to do anyway,
okay,
but you have never played and you don't know much about the sport. You're still
right,
clueless,
right,
because rugby is on one hand a very simple game. You just have to get the ball and get it across, the try
sure,
line and put it down. But from A to B, there's a lot of things that happen, okay? And because it's a contact sport, you have to be careful because player safety is like the main thing.
of course,
So there is just not a lot of coaches,
yeah,
and we we don't develop as many coaches as we maybe should be
sure,
doing. It's very hard to get the sport into a public school or a
yeah,
private school for that matter.
right.
There's a lot of like from the football staff. No, we don't want, they don't like us
Right.
too much.
They don't want any competition with, the
Yeah,
football side of
even
things.
if this like the seasons are absolutely inversed, right? We
Sure.
play in the spring
Okay.
and football goes on in the fall.
The fall. Yeah.
And many rugby teams, they have, if if not most, many players coming from football, you know.
Okay.
But we just don't have rugby in schools. We've had
That's
it,
unfortunate.
in a few private schools, but right now there's zero rugby in schools.
And have you had any conversations with, other people in your, within rugby, about, potentially, um, or I guess brainstorming kind of ideas of how you guys can get Florida into schools, or is that something
What?
that's just kind
It,
of
yeah,
is what it is?
I am very involved and close with pretty much every uh, club and organization. The unions. We have a Florida Youth Rugby Union for the high school and younger, and then there's a Florida Rugby Union.
Okay.
I attend all their meetings, uh, and I have a very good relationship with pretty much everybody. So yes, this is a topic that it's always present, but we just haven't. It sort of takes time and I would say money to get this organized because
Of
everybody's a
course.
volunteer, of course. not me. I do this for I make some profit of what I do, but everybody's a volunteer, so it's really hard to get it organized and finding the right contacts. It's really hard to get a new sport in the public system. It is hard.
Yeah.
We
Because
I
obviously
would say
you have to have it in enough schools for there to even be a season
yeah,
or a schedule made. And obviously
yeah.
with a kind of niche sport, I could imagine how difficult that is trying to get that
Like
integrated.
like if they told us, okay, we're gonna give you these 10 schools, you can start rugby clubs there. I don't think we even have the coaches to, be able to
Sure.
do it, you
Yeah.
know.
Or at least, of good quality, the quality that's needed, to be coaching kids and young
Yeah,
adults.
yeah.
Sure. Um, what is What is kind of your vision for Rugby Florida over the next 3 to 5 years, especially when it comes to scaling up and reaching new regions or, enhancing participant experiences?
To be honest, uh, I think it's gonna grow a little bit, but I don't see any kind of real like impactful growth.
Sure. Okay.
Uh, it may sound a little pessimistic. I don't really, because I'm such a fan of the sport, I would really like for the sport to always stay true to itself and not lose, the core values
Sure.
that it has. If that is a price to pay to,
Hey. Yeah.
because they'd say, oh, okay, let's get it going in 100 schools.
Right.
And it's terrible because, the coaching is, but, I see it growing, but not too fast.
Yeah. you don't want the sport to lose its traditions. And
Yeah,
like
I mean,
you
I'd rather
mentioned
have
about the after game meals and stuff, I could see that being, kind of fizzled out if it comes to schools and them not being able to do that. So I can see I can see the difficulties.
it's really a mystery because I always ask myself, why is it that we all think from the rugby community, hey, this is such a great sport, and another thing that is interesting is that rugby, it's a contact sport. Okay, so if you don't like contact, that's it. It's
Right.
not for you. Okay.
Right. There's no way
The
around
other,
it.
yeah, I mean, that's it,
Yeah.
Like if you don't like to swim, hey, you're not gonna go into swimming, right?
Right.
That's it. That's
Right.
it. So you have to like a contact sport. And listen, we have what, 150,000 kids playing football in the state, maybe. So, and they don't all make it to the, varsity teams. So
Right.
I think there's a lot of kids that would enjoy rugby. And one thing that I would like to mention about the sport is we actually, it's not for big guys only. We actually
Okay. Of
need all kind of sizes and, builds, because you do need like the really big guys for some positions. You need
course.
tall guys. You need really fast guys for some other position. You need small guys for another position, and different skills. So it is really a very uh, it's a sport that actually doesn't matter what how you are. There is a position for you. And so I'm always wondering what is we're not doing properly in explaining rugby or being able to reach the kids, because obviously as a contact sport the other one is football, right? And I said it we're doing something wrong because we should be getting much more kids from
Right.
football actually just ditching football and being a rugby person for the
Yeah.
rest of their lives.
Sure.
Another day, I was talking to a guy who was a football player, and he started playing rugby, and then he never left rugby and became a coach
Wow.
and everything. So, and I asked him what was like what like what was like the switch,
Which, yeah.
because he used to be, I'm not even very knowledgeable of football, but one of the guys who pushed the other ones,
Okay. Yeah. One
what
of
do
the
you call
big
that?
guys in the front on the
Yeah.
offensive or defensive
So
line.
so that was all he did. Okay, so he
Okay.
went to play his first game of rugby, and what was like the difference? He said, "I got the ball.
Yeah, have fun. Yeah.
I got the ball," which I had never done in football.
Yeah.
And he also
That's
scored a
awesome.
try. Because so I don't know. I think it's really a such a great
And
sport.
and yeah, I mean there's I know there's kids out there that are just like him that think the exact same thing. They never get the ball just because, they might have been too big to play that position where they would
Yeah,
get the ball, and now they could go and play rugby and have that opportunity and potentially have more fun than they ever did in football.
I'm not comparing the sports. I'm not.
For sure, for
Rugby is
sure.
rugby.
But I do
Football is
think I
football.
think I think there's a natural comparison just because of how you know, they've been compared over the years, but they are very
Yeah.
different in their own way.
And as we like to say to football, I am your father,
Yeah.
because that is actually literally the how it started.
Man. Um, so eh, maintaining a balance, between tradition and innovation obviously can be tough. How do you approach introducing like new tech or processes to your community without losing that grassroots feel?
I guess it's you just have to have it like present all the time when anybody approaches the sport for the first time.
Or,
Not have it like an afterthought, okay? Because it's really, part of the core value of rugby. And I like to also think that it's very important to talk to the parents in a way where they can appreciate what the sport will give to their kids,
okay,
and not be because many, they're like afraid of the sport. But
sure.
it is, if you just need to talk to them and try to for them to be able to see, what the sport can give to their kids, when we're talking about youth, right? Uh, yeah.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'll leave you with one final question. If you could wave a magic wand and solve one ongoing uh operational challenge for Rugby Florida, what would it be
Oh, to make it a varsity sport in high
in
schools in the
schools?
public system. Yeah. But
Awesome.
we're gonna need a few $1 million to make that happen.
For
And a
sure.
lot of people, but it
Yeah,
would be having rugby as a sport as we have football or soccer, where you go and play, the other school, which is,
right.
just down the street and within your county. Oh, that would be like a dream come true. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I hope that that can become a reality someday. I really do. I think that, you know, there should be more sports and more opportunities for kids, to play sports. I think a lot of kids end up not playing sports in school because there just isn't enough sports for everyone and sports that kids are interested in. Everyone isn't going to be interested in soccer or basketball or football. And those are obviously usually in baseball, like the main four that
Yeah.
are, at every school. So I think it's really important to get more sports involved in schools.
Yeah.
So, well, Charlie, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me today and join the Legacy Innovators podcast. I really appreciate your time and your insights on rugby. And I'll have to look into that event that's going to be here in Bradenton
Oh
soon.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, you just follow my Instagram. Everything that goes
Sure.
on at Rugby FL in rugby in Florida, everything, all divisions is there. If you just follow my Instagram, you're pretty much on top of it.
Awesome. I'll make sure
Can't
to do
miss it.
that. All
Okay.
right, Charlie. Well, I appreciate you. You have a good rest of your Monday and start to your week.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir.
Bye.